Good evening, everyone. I believe it's time to call this special meeting of the Frankfort Community Unit School District number 168 to order. The purpose of this meeting is to approve minutes of the previous meetings and consider a resolution to certify the results of the April 1st, 2025 consolidated elections. With the absence of Mrs. Browning this evening, if there are no objections from this board, I would ask the board to allow Shannon Steinberger to serve as secretary for this meeting. Any objections? If not, please call the roll.
Don's not here. Kendall?
Here.
Lynn's not here. Rick's not here. John?
Yes.
I'm here. Mr. Tony?
Here. As a quorum is present, we will now move on to the next item on the agenda. That's number 2, hearing of delegates or visitors and public comments. This is the time in the meeting when we ask if any delegates or visitors would like to make public comments for the board to hear. If you wish to speak per board policy 2.230, we ask that you identify yourself for the record and limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. Is there anyone who'd like to speak who is not otherwise on the agenda?
We'll have this opportunity in all 3 meetings, so if you want to wait for them. Yeah.
Anyone at all? Going once? Going twice? We'll move right along to item number 3. That's the approval of minutes, open and closed sessions of the regular meeting of March 17th, 2025, and the special meetings of March 26th, 2025, and April 14th, 2025. The minutes of those previous meetings were included in your packets. After you have reviewed them, if there are no further corrections or clarifications, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the open and closed sessions of the regular meeting of March 17th, 2025, and the special meetings of March 26th, 2025, and April 14th, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make it.
Thank you, Mr. Graskowitz. How about a second?
Second.
I heard Mr. Brandon. Thank you, Mr. Brandon. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Graskowitz?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tony?
Yes. Item number 4, new business. Part A, resolution to certify the results of the April 1st, 2025 consolidated election. Mr. Duncan.
Whereas the state of Illinois held a consolidated election on Tuesday, April 1, 2025, that included on the ballot 4 regular 4-year term vacancies for the Frankfort Community Unit School District number 168 Board of Education. And whereas eligible voters of the district residing in the territory that encompasses Franklin and Williamson counties participated in that consolidated election and cast their votes. And whereas the office of the Franklin County Clerk collected the totals for each candidate in Williamson County and conducted a canvass of the vote and certified the following. And for Franklin counties, this is across Denning Township precincts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, Frankfort Township precincts 1, 2, 3, and 4, Cave Township, and then Williamson County, Erin Township precinct 7, and Lake Creek Township precincts 1 and 3. The totals being Michael Krosky received a total of 519 votes in both counties. Mr. Joshua Tharp received 603 votes. Mrs. Dawn Browning received 379 votes. Mr. Brian David Aaron received 448 votes. And Mr. John Graskowitz received 439 votes. Now therefore, be it is hereby resolved by the Board of Education, Frankfort Community Unit School District number 168 as follows. Section 1, the board hereby finds that all the recitals contained in the preamble to this resolution are full, true, and correct, and does incorporate them into this resolution by this reference. Section 2, that the results of the April 1st, 2025 consolidated election indicate that Mr. Michael Krosky, Mr. Joshua Tharp, Mr. Brian David Aaron, and Mr. John Graskowitz were elected to the 4 open 4-year terms. And Section 3, that Mr. Michael Krosky, Mr. Joshua Tharp, Mr. Brian David Aaron, and Mr. John Graskowitz should be sworn in to fulfill the terms to which they were elected at the organizational meeting of the Board of Education for a time as soon as possible following.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Any questions of the board for Mr. Duncan concerning this matter? If there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion to ratify the resolution to certify the results of the April 1st, 2025 consolidated election as canvassed by the Franklin and Williamson County Clerk's offices. Do I hear a motion? I'll make that motion. How about a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Steinberger. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Glasswood?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Threw me a curveball.
I know.
Yes. Item 5, anything from the board? Any questions or concerns? If not, item 6 is to adjourn Sine Die. I would entertain a motion to adjourn Sine Die. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make it.
You, Mr. Graskowitz. How about a second? I'll second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Glasswood?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tony?
Yes.
5:51.
Does that mean that we're already late? Now we know what we're going to put to that. Correct. No, I'm just going to sit. Place up.
No.
Are you moving too?
Oh. Mr. Cross, Mr. Fox, Mr. Aaron, Mr. Graskowitz. Oh, I brought your copy. Okay, gentlemen, if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Josh Edwards,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge.
that
That I will faithfully
discharge
discharge
the duties of the office of member of Board of Education of Frankfort Community Unit District 168 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further swear that
I shall
respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek to hear before the board while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that the board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made by only vote of the public board meeting. I shall abide by the majority decision of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through the ethical and constructive channels. As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility of my role in the equitable and quality education of every student of the school district. I shall foster with the board's participation in the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course of Frankfort FCUSD 168. I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I shall strive to ensure continuous assessment of student achievement in all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law. I shall serve as educator's key advocate on behalf of students in our community school to advance the vision of Frankfort FCUSD 168. And I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision of the board has created, fostering excellence for every student of the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
Congratulations. Good board. I'm gonna slide out. Okay, the time is 5:55. I call this special organizational meeting of the Frankfort Community Unit School District Number 168 Board of Education to order. The purpose of the meeting is to have recently elected board members repeat the oath of office, select officers, make appointments, approve the code of conduct, review mandated reporter requirements, and approve the board's meeting dates, times, and locations. I'd like to start first. Let me take the roll to make sure we have a quorum here. Mr. Aaron.
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes.
Mr. Graskowitz.
Yes.
Mr. Karofsky.
Yes.
Ms. Steinberger.
Yes.
Mr. Tharp.
Yes.
Mr. Tony.
Yes.
I certify that a quorum is present. Now we move on to new business and the election of officers in a two-step process. First item of business is election of a president pro tempore. I open the floor for nominations for president pro tem.
Nominate Mr. Tony.
Second. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Without objection, nominations for President Pro Tem are closed. The question is, shall Mr. Kevin Tony be elected President Pro Tem? Call the roll. Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Graskowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Karofsky? Yes. Mrs. Steinberger?
Yes.
Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Okay, then we move to Mr. Tony. You need to
Okay.
move over here. Well,
I believe we are under new business item 2, election of secretary pro tempore. I open the floor now for nomination for secretary pro tem.
Nomination Steinberger.
Mrs. Steinberg.
I'll second.
Ms. Kendall. Mr. Karofsky. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Without objection, nominations for secretary pro tem are now closed. The question is, shall Shannon Steinberger be elected secretary pro tem? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Graskowitz.
Yes.
Mr. Karofsky.
Yes.
Ms. Steinberger.
Yes.
Mr. Tharp.
Yes.
Mr. Tony.
Yes.
Mr. Aaron.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Item number 3, election of president. I open the floor for nomination for president of the school board for a 2-year term.
I nominate Kevin Tony.
A
second.
That was Kendall Branding and who?
Mr. Graskowitz.
Okay.
Aye.
Are there any other nominations for president? Any other nomination for president? Any other nomination for president? If not, without objection, the nominations for president are closed. The question is, shall Kevin Tony be elected president for a 2-year term? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Graskowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Karofsky?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes. Sorry. I'm old habits. Old habits die hard. I believe now we're on item number 4, election of vice president. Open the floor now for nomination for vice president for a 2-year term. Are there any nominations for vice president of the school board?
I nominate Kendall Brown.
I second.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Without objection, nominations for vice president of the school board are now closed. The question is, shall Kendall Browning be elected vice president for a 2-year term? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Karofsky?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Graskowitz?
Yes.
Item 5, election of secretary. I open the floor now for nomination for secretary of the board for a 2-year term. Are there any nominations?
Nomination Steinberger.
That was Mr. Tharp.
I'll second.
Mr. Perez. Are there any other nominations for secretary? Any other nominations for secretary? Any other nominations for secretary? Without objection, nominations for secretary of the board are now closed. The question is, shall Shannon Steinberger be elected secretary for a 2-year term? Roll call vote, please.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Pressler?
Yes.
Mr. Porosky?
Yes.
I believe we are on item B, appointment of other officers. Number 1, appointment of a treasurer, Mr. Duncan.
I would recommend that we appoint Mr. Keith Jones as district treasurer.
Are there any further questions of Mr. Duncan concerning this matter? If not, I would entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Keith Jones as district treasurer.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Borowski, any second? Do I hear a second?
Also, that.
Mr. Aaron. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Pressler?
Yes.
Mr. Porosky?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Item number 2, appointment of a recording secretary. Again, Mr. Duncan.
I would recommend we appoint Mr. Keith Jones as recording secretary.
If there are no further questions of Mr. Duncan, I would entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Keith Jones as recording secretary. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make it.
Thank you, Mr. Raskowitz. How about a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Steinberger. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Pressler?
Yes.
Mr. Porosky?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes. Part C, approve the Illinois Association of School Boards, otherwise known as the IASB, Code of Conduct for members of school boards. Mr. Duncan.
You received in your packet the code of conduct for members of school boards. There are 12 items there. This is posted also on the wall in the conference room in the district office. It can be found on ISD's website. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but trust you will. And kind of mirrors the vote you took. So recommend approval.
Are there any questions of Mr. Duncan? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the IASB's Code of Conduct for members of school boards. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make it.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. How about a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Porosky.
Pressler?
I'm sorry, I need to get better at distinguishing voices. Mr. Tharp, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Raskowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Porosky?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Part D, review of obligations of members of the Board of Education as mandated reporters. Mr. Duncan.
Two things to mention. One, from Illinois compiled statutes and the Illinois compiled statutes at 325 ILCS 5/4, section 4, letter C, subsection D. If an allegation is raised to a school board member during the course of an open or closed school board meeting that the child who is enrolled in the school district for which the person is a board member is an abused child, as defined in section 3 of this act, the member shall direct or cause the school board to direct the superintendent of the school district or other equivalent school administrator to comply with the requirements of this act concerning the reporting of child abuse. For purposes of this paragraph, the school board member is granted the authority in that board member's individual capacity to direct the superintendent of the school district or other equivalent school administrator to comply with the requirements of this act concerning the reporting of child abuse. Then also, board policy 220, powers and duties of the school board, identification number 18. One of the powers and duties is complying with requirements in the Abused and Neglected Child Reporting Act. Specifically, each individual board member must, if an allegation is raised to the member during an open or closed board meeting, that a student is abused child is defined in ANCRA. Direct or cause the board to direct the superintendent or other equivalent school administrator to comply with ANCRA's requirements concerning the reporting of child abuse.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. This is a non-action item, correct? Okay, then move right along to page 4, part E, which is the determination of board meeting dates, times, and locations. Mr. Duncan.
You have, well, first of all, we do this every year, usually in December, for the calendar year, January through December, for the new board. You also need to do the same thing. What we did here was copy the schedule that we had for the balance of the year from May 1st through December 31st. Keeping board meetings to begin, regular board meetings to begin at 6 p.m. in the library center between the high school located at 1600 East 9th Street, West Frankfort. Meetings are generally held on the third Monday unless there's a holiday, which third Mondays, that happens quite a bit. Also be aware that the gap between the August and September meeting, because that is the September meetings when we approve budgets, you have to have it on display for up to 30 days. We've got to keep 30 days between those two meetings, so that's why that meeting will sometimes slide.
Any further questions of Mr. Duncan concerning the school board meeting dates? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting dates, times, and locations for Frankfort Community Unit School District Number 168 Board of Education for the remainder of the calendar year 2025 as presented.
On my typo.
A2.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
On my first typo.
Okay, I didn't catch that either.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. How about a second?
I'll second.
I heard Mr. Cross-Catholic that time.
I heard Aaron thought.
That was correct.
It was first. So, cross.
Has Mr. Cross, you said anything yet tonight? No, I'm not.
No, I haven't said a word. He hasn't said a
All
word.
right. I guess I am going to bed. Thank you, Mr. Aaron. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Aaron.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Karofsky.
Yes.
Mr. Carr.
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe.
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tony.
Yes. Item 4, hearing of delegates or visitors and public comments. This is the time in this meeting when we ask if any delegates or visitors would like to make public comments for the board to hear. If you wish to speak per board policy 2.230, we ask that you identify yourself for the record and limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak who's not otherwise on the agenda? I don't see anybody moving. If not, we'll move along to item 5, board member comments.
Just welcome to the board.
Yes, congratulations and welcome.
Thanks.
If nothing else, item 6 is the adjournment of this meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I believe that was Mr. Brandon.
I'll second it.
I believe that was Mr. Grassfield. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe.
Yes.
Mr. Karofsky.
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Carr.
Yes.
Mr. Tony.
Yes.
Mr. Aaron.
Yes.
6:09.
The school board president can get his ears cleaned out, get his hearing aid turned on.
Okay. Give me 2 minutes. I've got to grab one more document I left.
Maybe just the first few sessions, everybody talks in third person. Coach K says yes.
And then Mrs. Feinberg.
There you go.
So after somebody, I said, yes, I voted yes. I voted yes twice. Yeah, I'm glad you're not skipping.
I'm not gonna skip, but I prefer to
It would take me all day to find the right name. First line.
Well, the last one I had you was, I just filled in the names, I just filled in whatever. I just went in order and changed the names.
Right. Yes. That wouldn't straight on. He can explain. Even though we can't see his expressions. You can make that understand there. If you're not satisfied. And we can also ask questions here. Also. I call this regular meeting of the Frankfort Community Unit School District number 168 to order. To determine if a quorum is present, I would ask the secretary to please call the roll.
Mr. Pressler?
Yes.
Mr. Crosby?
Yes.
I said yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
6-15.
Thank you. I certify that a quorum is present. Would everyone please rise and join our new Vice President, Mr. Kendall Browning, as he leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 2. Hearing of delegates or visitors and public comments. This is the time in the meeting when we ask if any delegates or visitors would like to make public comments for the board to hear. If you wish to speak, per board policy 2.230, we ask that you identify yourself for the record and limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak who is not otherwise on the agenda?
Hey again, Seth Brandon, just a parent here. So I got a couple of questions. On March 26th, our last regular board meeting, Mr. Wills, I believe it was, came in and gave us a rundown of bond sales and everything like that. And in all of the situations that he gave us, when we were using the county school facility sales tax to pay off our 2021 bonds, we were looking at a figure of 2.9 million. I noticed on the agenda we're up to 3.15. Has anything else changed, or are we going with somebody else, or any other major changes between what we were told on the 26th?
We will talk about that when we get there. However, that is to give us room, but we still think it's going to come in at 2.9. But so the board can make a motion and give that latitude then as we get closer to bond date. And when we check, when I had a conversation with Mr. Wilson this afternoon, the numbers are still about when they were looking at 2.9.
Okay.
In that way, when this process happens, the board can then allow the board president and superintendent to work out the final details, so we don't have to call everybody back together every time to go through the box.
So this one's a little bit more technical, so I'm not expecting a perfect answer here, but so with our 2021 bonds, did we use anything other than the county school facility sales tax to secure those bonds?
Actually, I thought the 2021 bonds are what we have paid off using a property tax line. It's a 2023, we are abating the sales tax.
That was the next question. I read that and I didn't know how that worked out. So moving on to the deficit reduction plan, has that been amended to include the new debt repayment and working cash proposed by the sale of these bonds?
At this point in time, that went with the budget that was approved back in September, and we haven't amended that budget yet. But it was part of the understanding that we were going through, that was going to be part of this plan.
Okay, so that was in whenever we budgeted back in September. All right, just making sure. How is our performance on the deficit reduction plan? Are there any areas where we are outperforming what we expected to save? Are there any areas where we're underperforming what we expected to save?
That's what we're looking at and monitoring every day, but we're in the heart of the budget here, so those numbers vary. We are also in a position right now where there are things that we have spent on that we have to ask the state or grant authorities for reimbursement, and that can take as much as, Mr. Jones, 2 weeks when we do an expenditure report.
Yeah, from when we file an expenditure report, it can take around 2 weeks.
And we tend to do those quarterly. We can do it more often, just kind of depends on where we are.
And are those like put on the website or the documents, or?
That's part of the bills that we pay every month, and expenditure reports are submitted to the state board.
Okay, fantastic. Then the last thing I want to touch on is, again, I want to mention that in the school board code, ILCS 5, Article 10, Section 10-1, Paragraph C, board may appoint a student to serve in the advisory capacity, and I think that's a wonderful idea that we should maybe formulate a plan on. They don't count towards a quorum, they can't go into closed session, they don't have any voting power, it's just an advisory position. But it would get, the students involved in leadership and, maybe another family involved in the school board matters too. So, thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your questions. Item number 3, approval of bills and financial reports. Mr. Duncan.
And in your packet, voucher checks 250,024 to 250,116 from the general fund bank account in the amount of $866,471.81. Electronic payments from the general fund bank account from March 14th to April 24th, the amount of $655,596.52. Payments from the FCHS Athletic Trust Fund in the amount of $27,028. Payments from the FCHS Academic Trust Fund in the amount of $609.39. No payments from the bond interest fund this month, for a total of $1,569,705.72. In addition, there were 2 payrolls in March. One payroll for $542,908.97. That added another category to the report. That covers 277 employees, which would be our regular employees, plus substitutes, etc. That's how many people we pay for various work and duties in this district. And then March 28th, $543,246.65. That was for 273 employees.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Are there any questions on the bills and the financial reports of Mr. Duncan at this time? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the bills and the financial reports. Thank you, Mr. Brown. How about a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Breskowitz. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Crosby?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Thorpe?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Brosky?
Yes.
District administration reports. First, Mr. Duncan.
Couple of things here. Somehow we are looking at the first Saturday in May, which in my West Frankfurt life is prom, which is coming up this weekend as we come back from spring break. But in my college life, Murray State in Kentucky, it's Derby Day, and Derby, where they talk about down the stretch, that's where we are here. Long way to get there. As we move down, coming out of spring break to try to finish these last few weeks strong for students, faculty, and staff. Want to mention, 5 o'clock tonight, I had ran up to Benton for a minute. We participate through the Franklin County Regional Delivery System and Career Technical Education System, the EDGE program, which was the entrepreneurship program we started in this county in about 2017, 2018. It was similar to a program that began through the Midland Institute and out of Effingham County. Williamson County had a branch. With that program, they were expanding it. We paid the franchise fees. A lot of money went there. In Williamson County, we weren't sure we were getting much bang for our buck. Eventually, we decided in Williamson County, I was regional superintendent, to do their own program, and then that only lasted for another year or two. In Franklin County, from the beginning, after seeing some of the issues in Williamson County, we decided to do our own thing. We were blessed by the fact that Middle Lake College stepped forward to provide an instructor and fund that instructor, so it didn't take as much fundraising money to have the program. We even made it through the pandemic where we couldn't meet in person. That program is going strong this year. There are 4 FCHS students across the 14 or 15 in the county that are in this program. Today, as they were presenting for their businesses, tonight was the Trade Expo in Benton. There was a good crowd already as I went through there, and the kids were enthused with what they were doing. Doesn't mean everybody's starting a business, but this is part of the idea of leadership development we've had across the area to one, show kids what they can do in this area, and two, hopefully engage them into staying or coming back to this area after college or whatever they choose to do. Also want to mention, and I'm sure will be, the FCHS Music Department presented their spring concert as we left the break. It was a nice concert. Want to mention, if you didn't see it today, the U.S. Supreme Court heard a case regarding students receiving special education services. Depending on that decision, that could affect us down the road. What's at stake is a student was in Kentucky, they had certain accommodations. When the student moved to Minnesota, they didn't get those accommodations. They are getting them now, but the family is also suing for compensatory damages that had not been part of the Individuals with Disabilities Act. If that changes, that's going to mean for school districts all over being even more careful and attentive to how we do special ed procedures, because that can open districts up to more liability. We'll see how that case goes. Do want to mention, coming up in the next month or two, we received information from the the city of West Frankfort as they are looking into a residential tax increment financing or TIP district to run in the basically the northwest quadrant of town. Don't know that this is part of any specific housing development at the time like is in some other communities, but it is an option. I'll be looking to get some professional advice on districts work with this. We currently get some TIP payments from previous TIP districts, but the trick in this is making sure you get enough to offset the fact that the property tax that is collected from this area will be the same amount then that we get through the life of the TIP district, so like for the next 20 years. Assessments will go up. The extra money in assessments go back into TIP to help pay for the improvements and to pay affected tax bodies. Could that affect this? Yes. It could mean that property taxes for everybody else have to go up to keep up as the pie increases. Also means that it can affect our status and our ability to get local funds. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, there's a hearing scheduled, I think in June, but I'm waiting on the official mail to come through. I wanted you to be aware of that. Then, also have a FOIA report for Board Policy 2250. Mentioned that we had 10, 11, 12 FOIA requests. That was from 3 parties, and then I take that back, 2 parties, and then had a follow-up with 2 local things. The follow-up was with Ms. Iris Kazadi on trying to narrow down the information that she was requesting. A couple of the documents was still in communication with her. Then I mentioned last meeting there was a strange thing that districts from across the area were getting. It appeared to be AI generated by the wording, by the language used, by the fact that when you did respond and ask questions, you really wouldn't get a response. But there were 10 separate FOIA requests asking for vendor information in electronic format of spending of $500 or more. And it covered the years, and they did it in multiples. The first one was for 2004, 14, and 24. The second one was for 1999, 2009, 2019. The next one was for 2000, 2010, and 2020. The next one was for 2001, 11, and 21. The next one was for 2002, 12, and 22. Number 6 was for 2003, 13, and 23. Number 7 was for 98, 8, and 18. Number 8 was for 2015 and 05. Number 9 was for 2006 and 2016. And number 10 was for 2007 and 2017. We don't have electronic records going back previous to 2010, 2011. We offered that we could go look up the data copies and scan them all, take the time to do that, but they have not responded to that. I think they're wanting a spreadsheet so they can analyze the data. Also have professional commercial requests from somebody called the Data Branch that wants copies of our purchase orders from 2020 to the present. Maybe we worked out a way to answer that because we do those on paper, not through an electronic system. And finally, otherwise I left 2 things in back. We have I'll tell you what, we have 2 things in back. Let me grab all of this was fine.
You betcha.
I'll have it.
Remind me to
Yes.
let you speak again the second time.
Yes.
Okay. Moving right along then to from Denning Elementary School, Mrs. Morgan Holyhope, principal.
Good evening. We're excited that quarter for attendance is back up total 95%. We are going to pilot a 4th quarter attendance initiative in with keeping in mind that next year, we would like to do a quarterly attendance initiative for our students. So we are giving away 2 bikes at the end of this quarter. We will draw from students who have perfect attendance for the 4th quarter as a pilot and have already purchased all of our prizes for next year. We'll be doing that quarterly, as well as some additional attendance initiatives for next year. You can see the quarter 4 behavior, just making note that we've significantly reduced our incidences of behavior from 1st grade to 2nd grade, comparing 23, 24 to this year. We continue to heavily support our kindergarten students and just working really diligently to apply various interventions and supports, as well as possible referrals when they're needed. I think also, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't state that most of those numbers come from about 15 to 20 students, kind of repeatedly. So I think sometimes that can be skewed if you don't understand that. A couple updates on some grants. We have our Title I School Improvement Grant. The amendments for that grant have been formally approved. We will complete all of our purchase orders this summer, and for that portion of additional funding that we received, we will be paying for the Denning iReady subscription and taking that out of our Title I grant to save money in the Title I grant. We will purchase additional classroom resources in terms of curriculum for phonics and phonemic awareness, professional development, and progress monitoring program for all of our teachers. We've also submitted our quarter 3 Stronger Connections progress reports. We have our final quarter 4 report coming up at the end of this school year. We registered about 85 kindergartners during our spring registration. That's pretty on track from year to year. We normally capture about 20 students after that spring registration. And we've actually had several parents coming into the office, kind of trickling in and doing that if they weren't able to attend. And our enrollment is typically 100, about 100 to 105. Several end-of-year events are listed there. DES will be at McDonald's this Thursday. If you'd like to stop by, we will be serving up fries and all the special McDonald's jobs. Our kids are really, really excited about that. Our 2nd graders will be going to FIS for orientation this Friday. We have Staff Appreciation Week coming up, our end-of-the-year field trips. I think I missed the 2nd grade whale play in this list, and I knew you were going to ask. That is May 16th, 9:15 and 1:15, and I will follow up with an email invite for the board. And then we'll wrap up with our Super Bird Week. It's a whole week of kind of fun celebration, and we will have Kindergarten Celebration Day on the 23rd at 9:30. We're invited to attend as well.
Okay. Any questions of Mrs. Holyboat? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
From Frankfurt Intermediate School, Principal Mrs. Montgomery.
I don't know about everybody else, but the month of April seemed to be about 6 months long. So whenever I talk about a few of these things, it seems like it's been forever ago, but it isn't. We did conclude our request for $1 million pennies, and FIS raised a total of $2,511.13 for Children's Hospital. Mrs. Yagro, her class raised the most money with a contribution of $404. So they won that pizza party contest.
Mrs. Montgomery,
Yes.
since my math skills are on the same level as my hearing ability up here, you raised over $2,500 in pennies, is that right?
Yes.
So how many pennies is that these guys brought to school?
Find out by 100.
I thought, yes.
Yeah.
So
The
we're
decimal
talking
point
about
2 times.
just over 250,000 pennies, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, that's what my math showed, but
You still got it.
how much does that weigh?
We did not weigh it. We did not weigh it.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
Just thought I'd point that out. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and the kids really took a lot of pride in that.
That's my point.
And so they were very excited for that.
Great.
During the first week of April, we finished our ISA testing and our IAR makeups. So shout out to Mr. Marks for that, for helping our staff and students navigate the new testing platform. That was vastly different from the last few years that we've had, so it took a lot of trial and error and a lot of patience to get through that part. At FIS, we celebrated the Autism Acceptance Month during the entire month of April. So this movement was spearheaded by a group of our awesome special education teachers. They took over every bulletin board in the building and planned some fun activities for the school as a whole. So it was a very positive experience. There was a big unifying energy throughout the building for the month of April, and so the kids have enjoyed it, all of them. Last thing, over spring break, we had a construction pop up in the back of FIS with an outdoor classroom pavilion. That's on our main playground, as well as sunshade awnings for the special education playground. So the one on the main playground is complete, and that was made possible through a grant from Moreland Bishop that we received in December, as well as fundraising efforts from the FIS parent group, so it was all fully funded that way. The awnings for the special education playground are not quite finished, but they are well on their way, and so that should be finished here in the next few weeks.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. From Central Junior High School, Mrs. Sullivan.
As we are wrapping up our school year, at the end of April, we started drafting letters for students in consideration of retention. I gave you some numbers, potential meaning that they have the opportunity to still pass should they meet certain criteria. And the ones that we're definitely going to be retained, we've already contacted parents and talked to them. On our half-day school improvement day, we worked to make an adjustment to our schedule because of the loss of 2 teachers in our staff, which put us at a 7-period day instead of an 8-period day. So we had to accommodate for that. We have worked together as a team to discuss master scheduling options, and our team has decided that they wanted to implement an RTI or enrichment period at the end of our day, so we can still have an 8-hour day. So each department is coming up with criteria of how students can get in or out of the RTI, how we're going to designate students, how often they should be removed for improvement, or when they need to come in, and we're continuing to meet on that this week. On that same day, our social studies team selected their new curriculum, and they chose the textbooks from SACS. Our discipline for the month of April was up. They were reminding us that we had gotten like a little too casual. We need to get back on our toes. So those numbers are a little bit higher than we had seen in a couple of months before, but spring fever hits hard in junior high school. In athletics, we've been busy with track. We held our practice track meet on March 24th. Turned out really nice, very beautiful day. They went to the Benton Invite on April 15th. The boys placed second, girls placed first. On Monday, we are hosting our conference meet, which I did not put on there. So we're still looking for people to take time. If anyone is available on Monday and knows how to run a stopwatch and doesn't mind getting a little sunburn, we would love to have you. End of the year activities, we held our 7th grade orientation. Our 6th graders came over and took tours of the building, met with teachers, talked to me. We had a whole rotation of activities for them that turned out really nicely. On May 8th, we're going to have our spring music concert. May 13th is our Central Honors Night. We're going to do our end of the year testing. On May 23rd, we have our 8th grade banquet party, and on May 28th, the 8th graders go to Six Flags to wrap up our year.
Any questions from the board of Mrs. Sullivan? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
From Frankfort Community High School, Mr. Hill.
I'd like to thank Mr. Followell and the band put on a great spring concert. As you know, Mr. Followell's been at high school for less than a semester now. A lot of that time was prepared, getting ready for the musical that we put on. So we didn't have a lot of time. They did a great job. We've completed our 25-26 semester schedule. We're in the process of putting kids in the classes. We're working on balancing classes with conflicts as we go through that process. Our annual Bob Gower banquet will be held on May 7th during the school day. We have 124 students qualified this year to attend. Our senior exams will be May 14th and 15th. our underclass exams will be May 22nd and 23rd. So those are coming up pretty soon. Some important dates for everybody. Senior honors night will be May 20th. Baccalaureate is May 21st. I should say 6 p.m., not 7 on your sheet. The senior banquet follows baccalaureate at 7 p.m. And then graduation is the 22nd at 8 p.m.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. From the Office of Student Services, Mrs. DeJarnett.
Good evening. Our office has been busy preparing for next school year and still having meetings. We have 22 and a half school days since our last board meeting, and Tabitha and Tony ran 81 meetings in that time. They were gone for 2.5 of those days for a law update with our school attorney, Brandon Wright, for the IAASE Region 6 annual law update that we have each year. We have met with Able Space Representatives, which is a company that assists in IEP writing. I met with the Crisis Prevention Institute representative to discuss training options, to try to save the district money. For the past 2 to 3 years, we've done that in the summertime, and we're trying to move to one of our teacher in-service days, which are very precious because we get very few of those. We currently have 7 students on homebound. Tony, Tabitha, and I met with all special education staff for our quarterly meetings. Tabitha and Tony got the progress reports each quarter, or whatever the individual student's IEP prescribes. We have to write updates on the goals, and then those have to be sent to the parents. So those were mailed and sent out. Tabitha and I met with early childhood teachers to discuss curriculum needs for the 25-26 school year. We're trying to find something that they can use that will also help with progress monitoring and help collect data for the IEPs. I met with physical therapy staff to discuss curriculum needs and equipment needs for next school year. Met with 2 Denning resource teachers to discuss the possibility of touchpoint math for the 25-26 school year. Collaborated with ISB to confirm youth and care students and provide information to the administrators and secretarial staff for what we need to do to remain compliant. Completed the PCG Medicaid annual desk review. Processed individualized service plan timesheets. We currently have 7 students in homebound. All of that information has been processed. Tabitha Tony also attended the directors, the meeting for the law update, and attended the quarterly staff meetings. And Tony has been busy with the ACT accommodation, which has been a bit of a nightmare this year. She talked to how many different people? I don't know how many. It was crazy. One person would say you don't have to do accommodations. The next person would say yes, you need to have them in. The next person said put them on a spreadsheet. Then they weren't supposed to be on a spreadsheet. It was an ordeal, but she persevered and got that taken care of. And Tabitha and Tony have started looking at class lists for the 25-26 school year. And I think beginning to look at is not really the right term. We've been looking at that since December, January, but we have continued to try to get that taken care of. Tabitha and Tony both helped with kindergarten registration on April 8th and 9th. Our 2 speech therapists that are located at that building completed 53 speech screenings. 55 assessments have been given by our diagnostic staff. And I think that's it. Since last board meeting, we've had 7 new students and 13 students have withdrawn.
Busy month.
I had the pleasure of going with the resource students to the zoo.
It was a fun day.
It was a fun day. Those kids were so well behaved, and they were exactly where they need to be at all times. And they made sure that bus was spotless. It was really great.
Yeah, I look forward to that each year, and I didn't get to go last year, and so we took a group of high school students to the zoo, and that's always fun. Mrs. Goodson is always a huge help. She helps with that each year, planning, and she brings goodies for everybody, so that was nice. And then also at the high school in the resource program, they have an indoor garden that has lights, and they grow food and they grow vegetables, and they have their annual harvest party, so I got to attend that as well. So that was fun. They make chili and salad, and we use all of their ingredients that they've grown, so a lot going on over there.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Next up, I believe, is Mr. Harris, Assistant Superintendent, FCHS Athletic Director, and Title I.
All right, just a few things. Right now, our baseball team is 2-14. We've been in a lot of close games. We got a pretty young team. Softball's 13-6 right now. We just lost to Anna. Coach Eldridge told me we lost 9-2. It's the first time in 2 years, but Anna did not shortgame us. Our softball team is actually pretty exciting to watch. You guys get a chance to come watch it. We've got 2 seniors that are going to college, and several underclassmen probably heading that way as well eventually. But they're having a great season. Like I said, if you guys get the chance, try to come watch it. Our girls track team competed at the Christopher Invite today. It's their first girls track meet, and we won it today, so that's good. Tuesday we have boys baseball at home against Nashville. Wednesday is our boys track meet. It starts at 4. Baseball is home against Carterville. Softball is home at Carmine on Wednesday. Thursday we have no events. Friday baseball is at home with Pinckneyville, and Saturday have the JV baseball game at Carterville. So
Any questions?
I actually had a question. Was there any track events over the spring break?
There was not.
There was none. Was there any schedule?
There was a mistake on the schedule with Heron, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Brock, are we hosting a junior high, or maybe Terry, you know, because Webby's already hit me up, and I forgot the date.
Junior high regional golf.
Yeah.
I just know we are hosting it all over the day. Terry, do you happen to know that?
It's May 5th.
Is it?
Same day as the track meet.
Thank you.
Because no, I can't keep a stopwatch, but thank you.
Maintenance Director, Mr. Chad Spence.
Well, our denning project is still working on that. D. Martin, they're trying to finish up the back part of denning. There was a little mishap on mounting the guttering before they actually had their the fabric or the actual rubber roofing terminated. So now we're going to pull some of that guttering off, terminate the rubber, and then put the guttering back on. So we're still waiting on that. Early Construction did work on some of their punch list items this past week. They worked on some doors, put some door trim up, and had to order a new hinge for one of the doors. And then now we have one more door issue. They're coming in the morning to take a look at that. So hopefully we'll get that thing wrapped up. Let's see here. Are you going to talk about the Ameren? You want me to?
Yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
Okay. Well, we put in a claim for the Ameren for the lights here. We had 83 LED light failures. With 16 maybe at the FIS, the parking lot lights, and we had 6 inside classroom type fixtures. We fixed those ourselves, the 6 over at FIS. Ameren said they denied our claim, I guess, through their claim department. I would still like to do a little bit of research on that, saying that it was a failure, a fuse failure, that it just happens, I guess, but that was a pretty expensive failure on our end, If we turn it insurance, we're going to get about 10 grand. So I think we're still going to work on that and look into that. But
And that was following advice from our insurance agent. We try it because they thought had a better chance of the schools asking instead of just another insurance company. But ran into roadblocks and been for our next option to basically pay the deductible, which is what we
We did have our lift, I talked about last month, at the vocational building. We installed a lift about 50 months ago, and the motor, the hydraulic motor pump assembly, the motor had failed on it, and we reached out to the contractor that had installed that lift, and they came and went to put a new one in. And I communicated with him back and forth. Super good guy. He brought the first time he brought the wrong motor and pump assembly. So he said, hey, it's on me. Went back, said it's going to be a couple weeks, get one ordered. I talked to him again. He said, I tell you what, he said, I talked to my supplier, and we are going to warranty that. So that pump motor assembly did get warranted, and he said, I really like you guys, enjoyed talking with you, and I'm going to comp my labor fees. So we had the new motor installed. That was about a $3,500 to $4,000 savings for the district. So the contractor's name is My Van. Kind of a unique name, but if anybody ever looking for any automotive type tools, big type commercial lifts, assemblies, I would look them up. They're really good people down there. Helped us out a bunch. We did get our incline lift at Max Morris installed, all-rise elevator. Finally made it. Took them about 2.5 days to demo the old one, install the new one. They did a testing of it. We're awaiting our certificate, but it is fully operational. We can use it right now. It's been installed for about a week and a half, I think. So they did a good job there. This past week was pretty busy for our guys. Did another plywood project at the high school. Third floor was pretty rough on the east side. It'd be the west wall of the east hall, and then right in front of the library, third floor, that kind of that south wall of that north corridor. There, we had to put plywood up, painted it. We still had a little trim to put up there, but makes it look a lot better than the plaster stuff coming off the wall. There's a lot of moisture comes in that area.
And we were able to use fire retardant paint.
Yes. Last time we used fire retardant plywood, which is about $65 a sheet. Reached out to the fire marshal and the RV guys and see if we could use regular plywood and just use fire retardant paint, which they let us do in the past. So he said that was fine. Send him all the MSDS stuff. Cut our cost in half. They will do that. Still use 5/8 plywood, but going with that instead of fire retardant plywood and paint on top of that, it could cut our cost in about half. Like I said, Tim Serena, I was off first part of last week. Him and Chad Blades, they took care of the lights. When we did the lighting project through the company in Jacksonville there, Jarvis Electric, we have a 5-year parts warranty on all the fixtures. Like these fixtures were the whole fixture was part of our renovation here, but anywhere else. They did either lights, either hardwired, or just changed LED bulbs. Over there, the drivers had actually burned up with that power surge that we had. And so Tim was able just to change those drivers, use the bulbs we had. Jarvis supplied us with all that. So that was no cost, just a little bit of labor on our guys, but they got all the inside classroom lights fixed that we had out. And then some of the HVAC panels that are old unit ventilators. You probably, if you drove around there, the old green kind of stuff that we still have on the outside of the building, didn't quite match the new metal and guttering and stuff that we've been doing. So our guys painted a bunch of that. We still got a couple more to do, but we got, I would say 95% of those painted over the spring break.
Any questions?
Does the drivers over there, you said a 5-year warranty?
Yeah.
Does that go from when you originally installed them or after you just installed them last week?
From
the original day?
Original. So I doubt if they would date these right now. I mean, we're a year and a half in maybe. But,
I was just wondering if we got started with five years on that.
It'd be nice if it would. I don't think.
Okay.
But, we kind of got lucky on that deal.
What the plywood, since the plywood itself isn't fire retardant, you paint inside and outside before putting it up?
We did that outside, did a 2-coat outside application.
Any risk if something starts inside the wall?
I can't answer, but it was, it's got a Class A fire retardant classification. That's the highest of all fire retardant stuff that we use. I mean, I can get you guys the MSDS for all that information on the stuff that we use, like that.
Did we address the issue of why the moisture is getting into the wall?
Is that a part of it?
We have a brick building that soaks up moisture.
It's a,
And is there any tuck point issues on the opposite side of that wall?
the opposite side.
Where the brick would be, that would be, if I'm thinking right, that would be in that little, that opening area right there.
Yeah, look, you can see down the 2 little bottom layers, it's kind of open areas. You have one on each side. We do have this summer. That's what we talked about last board meeting. That was bid out to take care of the south walls of those 2 areas that go both staircases. You know, going down.
Yeah.
You guys have seen the issues that we have there. Those were bid, and that company is going to take care of the tuck point on those. They also had an additional deal that we talked extremely cheap. I don't know if it's a typo. We're still waiting to get confirmation on that.
It's confirmed.
They confirmed it. So there might be an option to do more because the price is right.
They had a unit price of $12 for removal of additional 100 square feet. So we're gonna see what the main project comes in at, which is supposed to be $72,893, and then see where else while they made the effort to get up in those areas, if there's anything else in very bad shape in there to see what we do. We've got 50,000 from the state we can match with, and use as much as we can to do it without.
That's the one we should put something up and then we're gonna be running into some issues.
This actually where we, and Mr. Duncan will be able to answer this, where we actually put the plywood up in the hallway there, be the west side of that east hall. That had been done 2018, 19.
We had replastered that area. That was one of the first things we did. Of course, at that point, we were hoping to be doing something else by 22 or 23. But that had already failed because of the moisture issues.
It was hard for me to fathom when I started that we have a wall that is probably 18 inches to 20 inches wide and wider in some spots that you can get moisture through that guy.
Water travel.
And it happens, you know, north wind, anytime we have a rain with the north wind, I mean, we have major issues. And, so, you know, hopefully we can utilize some of these funds and help do that while they're working this summer. I think that's pretty.
Mr. Spence, thank you for having those guys work on that old building. It's one thing to keep lights and plumbing and motors working in a new building, but to make the aesthetics on a 100-and-how-many-year-old building? 103-year-old building, make it look nice, kudos to them.
The picture looked really good.
I would say something smart aleck about Mr. Schloss, but I don't want to do it in public. Pass that along.
Yeah, I'll
Thank you. I believe we are now on item F under committee reports. Mr. Dawkins, do we have any committee reports?
Yeah, you just need to come back to me with 2 things.
I do need to come back to you, don't I?
Yes.
Thank you for that reminder.
First of all, these came in an envelope this afternoon. These are members of the Board of Education, your invitations and commemorative bookmark, I guess, inviting you to prom this Saturday. This year is being held at the Yummies Event Center in Marion, which is north of the post office, and one of those couple blocks in there. There is also supposed to be a grand march, which which we haven't had in the last few years. That is supposed to take place on the square at 6:30 unless it rains, although Saturday's weather is supposed to be the best of the next several days and not as warm.
When did we stop holding the prom in the gym? I know it was a while back, because I know it's been different places.
2017.
Yeah. 2017, they made the move,
Wanted to go to the minors at the time.
which reduced fundraising, reduced money spent, reduced time in class.
Time was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So there's a trade-off there, good nights.
There's a trade-off there. I know that Sub-Deb's Little Black Dress Party, which had been moved around because Mrs. Wells wasn't able to do it, they're doing that Thursday, I think, for one free night with hot ball games. We've got, which is right on top of prom, but I have the schedule worked out.
You said there are no committee reports? Okay.
That
One more thing.
No, that wasn't the one more thing. This is the one more thing. Apologize for not having this last month. You have seen stories all over. You've seen stories all over the place about attendance and truancy issues being a nationwide issue, and schools, governors, state legislators, etc., trying to work through it, both punitive and restorative practices. I hope I'm not too jaded after watching this through the years, but a lot of those things are the same things that people have been trying for 100 years when not as many people went to school 103 years ago. But they were talking about truancy and tardiness back then too. A few years ago, during COVID, as part of one of the pandemic grants, Mr. Porzano was writing, we added an attendance liaison who could also handle something we're required to have, which is a McKinney-Vento homeless and displaced student point person, I guess I would say, coordinator, to handle those two things. We rely, as all districts do, on the Regional Office of Education, who does get a truancy grant through the state of Illinois. They staff truancy, they send letters, they make visits, but at the end of the whole process, number one, the laws in the state of Illinois aren't that strong as far as truancy. Lots of reasons for that, and even if they try to make changes, as they have talked about, the difference between homeschool and people doing legitimately or no school, those not doing it, but that also gets people concerned that they're going after homeschool. So hasn't been much movement on the law. It also takes the Office of the State's Attorney and the court system to carry these things out. They are frustrated too. Their efforts to take these things on the court varies. You have some families who have been playing the system for years, and they kind of know where there's a chance for this to work and not. What we've done, both from when I was regional superintendent and here, truancy processes, I've described this before as basically trying to continue to put, if we were doing a pipe project, continuing to put pipe on this thing, add more annoyances to get most people where they're supposed to be, because at the end of the day, there's not some grand thing that's going to take care of things. You could say jail the parents, but if you jail the parents, then the court system has to figure out where the kids go. And there's not enough of those around either, so it's a bigger problem.
The parents just get fined like $150 because it's classy misdemeanor.
Yes. And at one point for a while, they were starting to put students in the detention center. That wasn't an allowable thing either, and the judges stopped that. And then other counties were trying to do that, and they stopped that as well. So we have our regular attendance procedures in each building, and then also when a student misses 2 days, email or phone call goes out to make them aware what we have here on this report is the different definitions, and then how many times we have sent first notice, second notice, referred students to the ROE, the step 2 meeting, which used to take place with members of the state's attorney's office. Right now it is the ROE's truancy staff and counselor from Spiro and maybe one other. Truancy review board, which again is another step, but you see there aren't many petitions to file at the end. It's one of those things. Luke Sager from the ROE comes down and meets with students. Ms. Mockabee in this district does the same thing. Make sure the paperwork is done. Authorizes home visits at time. We often ask Officer Moat to do those, trying to add at least a little muscle, but again, it's tough to threaten a lot when what can you fulfill with that threat? But it is an area we're going to go back and work on for next year. We keep in mind, previous to 2017, school funding was based on average daily attendance. Since the evidence-based formula passed, that's not the case anymore. Attendance is part of our academic record, our school report card. It's still important for success. It's still important for all those reasons. But our enrollment on September 30th and on March the 30th, I believe that's a spring day, but the 2 days that enrollment's what our funding comes from. McKinney-Vento liaison, you can see in this district we have homeless or unhoused or experiencing housing insecurities. That could also even mean if you're living with grandparents. Denning had 18, FIS had 38 identified, Central had 18, the high school has 41 identified. Do you get money through the federal McKinney-Vento, through the state to help support that? You'll occasionally see transportation because wherever a student has, if a student's family changed districts all of a sudden and they're homeless, they can still choose to finish the year here. We have to help provide transportation back to here. So those are some of the coordination things that are done as well.
Again, what is the definition, their definition of homeless?
Can be everything from house, couch surfing to living with grandparents, as well as, if you picture out on the street somewhere, yes, but that's not all of it. But it does include, and we've had situations living in hotels, living in the cars, those kind of things, and if we can get the kids to school, just to get them somewhere safe and warm and with meals.
I would hazard a guess that even though the homeless definition has been changed and more inclusive, we still have more than our share of truly homeless students sleeping in cars, in a basement someplace, an unfinished building, those kinds of things. Probably more than our fair share of those truly homeless.
And we know who those students are?
Yes, yeah, they're identified in the system. And there's a housing form that gets filled out, and et cetera. So, as part of, and we'll mention it, as we do laundry for students often, all the way down to Denning, when the person from the fire marshal's office from the Bloomington area had transferred down here, she was walking around, and we were in the laundry room. I mentioned that. She said she had noticed, because she hadn't inspected schools before, how many schools are doing laundry for children and students, just to have them something clean to wear every other day or however. She didn't realize the extent of it, but it's not just here. Then, last thing I should mention at the top of the meeting, somebody who was here almost every day, except for one time when she got injured, when somebody hit her with a dodgeball ball in PE, but lost a retired 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Joyce Munchik, before break. Taught for many years, I think, at Joyner and then at Fourth grade at Denny Elementary, her daughter Susan Hood also taught here, and her granddaughter Erin McLean also taught here. So somebody that gave a lot of time to the district. She was part of the group with Mr. Stark, who were in charge of the class of the 1950s reunion efforts. They did close that account and made a donation last fall to the district. So remember her as well.
Any questions about Mr. Duncan's report? If not, now can I move along to the committee reports, and you said there are none. Old business?
None.
None there also. Item 6, under new business. Part A, business operations, proposals, and agreements. Number 1, consideration of a resolution providing for the issue of not to exceed $3,150,000 in general obligation limited tax school bonds, Series 2025, of Frankfort Community Unit School District Number 168, Franklin and Williamson Counties, Illinois, for the purpose of increasing the working cash fund of the district, providing for the levy of a district annual tax to pay the principal and the interest on said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof. Mr. Duncan.
One of the abilities that school districts have to be able to spread payments out for cash flow is through working cash funds. Working cash fund is one of the several funds in the district's budget. It is an area where that fund can loan to other funds, and you don't have to pay that fund back. It is an option this district has used and other districts have used. This district used it in 2016 when they were trying to consolidate some debt and also get cash flow straightened out, especially when state aid was being prorated through those years. We had worked ourselves out of needing to do those things in 2018, 2019, 2020. And we're in a positive cash flow and a positive budget situation. And at that point in time, we were continuing to authorize a line of credit. A line of credit is one thing we did kind of as insurance, because at the end of fiscal years, all funds are supposed to be in the positive. And the trick is in government funding and when things are paid for and when they're reimbursed, there are times where you'll be sitting in May and June with bills you have to pay, and you pay them, but you ask for reimbursement, and like Mr. Jones said earlier, that can take 2 to 4 weeks, and suddenly you're into the next fiscal year, and you have a cash flow issue. In addition, there is 1 month, Mr. Jones, where we do not receive state aid.
Yes.
The month of July. The month of July. So we receive revenue through state aid, 2 payments a month, except for in the month of July. That is, of course, when we end the fiscal year. It's when we have potential payouts for retirees. It's also when we get ready to start the new fiscal year. At the start of the school year, there is a little burst of activity, just like there is in a lot of families' accounts, buying things for the school year in August. We've gone several years without tapping into that line of credit. We used it last year. Did we use it 2 years? I don't think we had to use it 2 years ago, but we did have to use it last year. Basically, it's our way of taking out a loan. We had done that through Banterra Bank. They supply the line of credit. You can go to it one time, correct? Or you can go up to the limit.
You can go to the limit.
You can go up to the limit. When you go to the limit, or have you used, what that means is when the next fiscal year begins, and when the County of Franklin does eventually send us our property tax proceeds in October or November, or unfortunately sometimes in December by the time we get it. When you do that, the first funds that would be coming to us are diverted straight to the bank. So you're paying that stuff off first and getting yourself farther behind in the next fiscal year. and also counts against you in the next fiscal year. We had looked at several options, knowing, one, we didn't have many retirements this year, but we plan to in the next year, the year after that, the year after that. And as we were also looking at places we can save, economize, and various scenarios. But we need to make sure we had a bridge to get there and funds to get there, while we still try to serve the many needs that we know our students have. We've talked before, yes, we had money through the pandemic, had other funds. We had a lot of pent-up demand. We still have a lot of pent-up demand. We try to fund those services as best we can. The other uncertainty we have now, besides the fact that, of course, as inflation caused everything to go up, as the corporate personal property replacement taxes dropped on us after we were through the budget process back last summer. What can we do to make sure we have a bridge to get through this period of time? We also don't know, between the federal government and its funds to the state, if there's going to be any delays, and yet we're obligated to pay. One reason why personnel was the first thing done, and as we look at next September's budget, we'll be looking at other line items as well, but why personnel had to be done when it did is because of the laws that apply to how soon you have to give notice for faculty and staff. Again, we tried to take, the board tried to take a middle tack on that. They could have eliminated even more positions. They chose not to do that. Could have eliminated less, I suppose, but again exposes us to some financial issues. So we began researching, investigating, and talking with Bernardi Securities and Mr. Kevin Wells about our options if we did a working cash bond issue. We had gone through the process in March of 2020 and then renewed it in 2023, where if you were going to take out bonds, and we did it both for working cash and for potential bonds for construction. Because at that point we were thinking if the state dropped a capital bill and there was funding for school construction, we would be as close to having a plan starting up. Boy, if that had dropped in 20, we would be to a point where maybe we'd be moving into a building by now at the high school. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. But we have the permission. Nobody petitioned at that time to put it on the ballot. We've got room. Last year, as part of the Denning project, as we were looking, we knew we still had pandemic funds. We knew there were certain things that we wanted to get done at Denning, from the roof to the HVAC, to get us another 20 plus years out. We also had security concerns over there that had been long talked about, including with the entrance and the office location. We wanted to be able to get that done in one fell swoop. We knew we were coming off of abating bonds and using school facility sales tax to pay previous construction. So we basically, that went away and we moved this part in. Now we're using it a little bit, proposing to use this a little bit to on operations. We had looked at several scenarios, from 2 million to 3 million to 4 million in working cash bonds. We settled on just short of 3 million. The question came up though, is this asked in the agenda item for $3,040,000. I'm talking to Mr. Wills this afternoon. The difference is to cover the estimated cost of the issuance of the bond and give us a little wiggle room. If the market moves to a favor of lower interest rates, that could generate some additional funds over the same time frame. But again, it's to give us some cushion here and flexibility. I still think we're aiming for the 2.9. The potential for bonds would be, bond sale would be late May, early June. If the markets hold where they are, he said that's where the scenario still is.
Hadn't the scenarios we talked about, those been like 1.9, 2.4, and 2.6?
We had had scenarios that went up as high as 1 million.
Okay.
I guess looking back through the documentation. Would this mean, and you know, we've also talked about, we are still, in the district our size, though, one of the bottom 5 districts in tax rates south of Interstate 70. We are limited through PTEL. The limit is the rate of inflation or 5%, whichever is less. That is on the total amount of money you can ask for each time. Now, how can that total amount possibly go up? It can possibly go up if you have new construction. And there's adjustments each year. I think I've shared with you some of the documents that kind of show where EAV, equalized assessed values, went up every year. So what we do is we ask for what we think we would be able to capture with the new construction, because we don't catch it the first time, we don't get a chance to catch it again. But if we ask for too much, when the county comes through and figures the rates, they tell you, no, it can't go up that much. They figure out the percentage. There is also a bit of a limit on the bond line, which is a separate line, as you've seen the tax truth and taxation hearing information each year. We have held that pretty steady when we could have gone up the last several years. We were trying to keep things as close to where they were as we could. But there's only so many places to go, and you know, we're compared to all of our neighbors, we don't get as much from the local community as the other districts around here get. If we were to do this working cash bond opportunity, the result would be about a 10-cent increase to the bond and an interest tax rate. If you had a home with a market value of about $100,000, that would be an increase of about $2.61 per month. And of course, that would go up or go down. If it's a $50,000 house, $150,000 house. Used to say things like that would be about the cost of a cup of coffee per month, but coffee goes for more than that now. But that is what it is talking about. Again, the wording of this is the parameters is not to exceed. But what that does, it doesn't lock the board into anything yet, but it gives a green light to move forward with the bond issue, and then delegates to the board president and then to the superintendent the chance to sign off on the final bond sale. Again, it's got to fit the parameters, but it's so we don't have to keep coming back, because once we get ready to do the bond sale, we want to get the bond sale done. And if we have these in early June, then we have the proceeds before the end of the fiscal year, which is when we need them. And then hopefully the markets don't change too much between now and then. Of course, who knows?
I have a couple of questions. Did I hear you say that the state doesn't always reimburse us? We don't always get the state money promptly. Not only that they don't. There is no reimbursement for July.
There's no state aid for July.
No state aid for July. Did you also say something about at times they are somewhat late with their state aid payments?
They haven't been since about 2019. The state had a bill backlog at the time. The private vendors, everybody faced. Schools actually were in line first. It just didn't make it any better for anybody else. But they have been paying on time. The thing is, where we get into is the state's dealing with their budget this time is if they're depending on flow-through funds from the federal government, and those seem to be being sent out with one or two people controlling the nozzle, as it were, that's a little more unpredictable than it had been.
And then the $3,150,000, that's the limit, not to exceed that amount.
Correct.
To put it in like a personal home, personal budget kind of a scenario where most normal people like me can understand it. I may have a credit card that I use very sparingly, and the max might be $10,000. We had better not hit that max, but it's there in case we need it. Is that why we're going forward? That's why it's phrased not to exceed.
Correct. And keep in mind, the authority that the board was granted in 2023 is for a higher amount than that even.
Okay.
But we aren't asking for that. We're asking for what we think we need to get through this time period. I mean, you could also ask to sell bonds $1 million at a time. However, every time you do that, then you're also paying
Someone
the fees and
to pay for that service.
and for the due diligence that the bond companies have to do, and through Standard & Poor's and the interviews that they go through to give you a rating.
Then also, if we don't sell bonds, if we choose not to do this, what other options are there that are practical for school districts? Are there any other practical options?
We mentioned one of the credits, not
Not
a good
really
idea at this
practical
time.
at this point.
Practical at this point. I mean, that's kind of the old idea of tax anticipation, which is also not a good thing. And again, you're getting yourself farther behind.
Right.
Or we kind of addressed personnel that we needed to address, but there's still other support personnel and others that don't have the time limit on it. We do that and have even less services and less people around
What we have now.
than what we have now. Again, we are still looking at what we can schedule and plan and cut budget-wise and make sure, as we have been looking under the couch cushions for funds. We talked about Medicaid funding, which we bill a lot more for now than we get through special education. We have used our title grants as much as we can on regular faculty after they made that formula a little better, because at one point federal TRS rates were 30–40%, and a lot of the grant was going to TRS and not to paying salaried people there. All of those things play into this, and that also doesn't mean, oh boy, we have a lot of cash and we can go live. No, that's to get us a bridge through. We've got to continue over the course of the next few years to, one, get through this period, but also get to a point. I mentioned the presentations back in the spring that this district has had a history of up and down and up and down and up and down. And trying to look far enough out and get us to a place where we level this out.
So this is not just a short-term fix, but it also is not going to fix the district's financial problems that keep coming up historically every 8 or 10 years. This isn't going to fix us forever.
And no, other things will help fix us forever. This is to get us to a point where we can do those things. And in conversations with other superintendents, they're figuring we're out in front here, but they're going to be fighting some of the same issues in the next year or two, which is also the uncertainty, and we want to make sure we have the revenue to fund what we can. Again, if something construction-wise were to come up, or if we talked about boilers or other things crashing and burning, still having cash on hand for emergencies versus the conversation in 2017 when I came to the district was when the state had not had a budget for a year. That was when they went with the evidence-based funding formula. But we began that year talking about when might we have to close the doors. Now, it wasn't immediately, we wouldn't have been first at that point, but we couldn't have lasted as long as some other districts do. Now, then you see things like, for those who've been around the community long enough, there is a high school district called Ohio in the northern part of the state, who we know were the tiny little school of underdogs who beat big bad West Frankfort at the state basketball tournament in 1986.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
You're welcome. I know what the Ohio district can do to help us now. The Ohio School District had on the ballot at its referendum on April 1st, on election day, referendum to close that school district. Because right now, there are only 20 students in that high school district. That high school district has excess funds at the rate of $3 million, and it only costs them like $1.5 million to operate the district. Boy, it'd be nice if the Ohio district could send us that. We'd feel a lot better about what happened in 1986. But
And to be clear, you're not talking about us closing the doors.
No.
That was just an example.
no, but that was an example. But you don't want to get to the point of cash flow where that's where you are. But again, the students will come, we will be here, but we've got to be able to manage utilizing every bit of funds that we can, and we have done that through grants, we've done that through Medicaid, we've done that through state aid, and we've done that through local property taxes.
How long will we have to pay this back?
The scenario is, and it's also why the conversation had gone to using those first 2 years, some of our sales tax money to pay off the 2021 bond that's going to go off in 2 years. We are looking at paying this off by fiscal year 2032, so tax year 2030. Some of the scenarios that we had looked at back in January were talking about not paying this off until 2034, 2035. Our plan would be to get this done and paid off as soon as possible, because still, we think as we turn a corner, we're going to need room to be able to bond for construction at some point. And this is one of the two places where it can come from. And utilize the funds that we have. Right now, the 2021 bond that is paid off of the property tax levy, it was also for construction and renovation, mostly of this building, I believe. We can use school facility taxes to pay for that, and then shift this around for the working cash bond.
So that school facility tax, if we use that for the first couple years, you're saying that's going towards the principal and the interest?
To pay off the debt service on the bonds that we're getting out of property tax right now. It would be about, Mr. Jones, about how much in sales tax money are we collecting a year?
About 70,000 a month.
About 70,000 a month. So we're figuring what we had paid already to pay off the other bonds is 5 or 6 months of the year's collection, so this would be 4 or 5 more, about 11 months.
For these two payments, you're looking at a year of sales tax to collect.
Now,
For the two payments we're gonna make on
keep in mind, we've already got money saved up from sales tax funds that we're holding and potentially using for things. We just wouldn't be filling the coffers, I guess, as much these 2 years. A little bit of a conversation we had when we resurfaced the track a few years ago, when we were talking about paying it out of several places and figured out X number of months of sales tax proceeds to go straight to that, as opposed to just building the piggy bank. We still need to have the piggy bank, but we also have issues we need to address now. And school facility sales tax is where those funds can come from.
So that will pay for that, we do this for the first couple of years.
Yes. Yes. We are also looking at separating that our school facility sales tax fund into its own fund to take away any temptation, but also give us a better picture of what we have operating versus what we have saved for capital projects.
I just know when Mr. Jones had said the last regular meeting, or when we talked about this, he thought 2.4 would be what we needed to shore us up. And now it's jumped to 3.1.
That's the,
I wasn't sure if we'd come down with a hard number at that point. I know we were still looking.
Because that's when I asked what we need, how much we would need.
But we're hoping not to use that 3.1, that's just the maximum we can go, we're still hoping for a lower number, right?
Well, we still gotta tell them how much to sell, how much bonds to sell for. So we either gonna tell them we want 2.4 or want 3.1. So when we tell them how much, they're gonna say how much you want us to sell.
And I said we're looking around that 2.9 number.
Nobody else has any questions? I would like to make a motion to postpone voting on this resolution until after our closed session.
we have a motion in front of us, board members, to move this topic, this action item, to someplace after closed session. That motion has been made by Mr. Carter. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
That would be Mr. Aaron. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Aaron,
Yes.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Mr. Grasswood,
Yes.
Mr. Borowski,
Yes.
I say yes, Mr. Tharp,
Yes.
Mr. Tony.
Yes. Okay. Number two. Item number two, consideration for auditing services by Rice Sullivan LLC. Mr. Duncan.
Rice Sullivan, let me back up. Emily and Hoffman have done the district's audits for quite a while, and a lot of districts in the area, they rather be coined. Their owner retired, about 2021, 2019, somewhere in that window, and sold to Rice Sullivan, and a lot of that staff isn't there. Rice Sullivan is located in Nashville, Illinois. Several items to consider about auditing services. Number one, this district, with the amount of federal funds that we receive, has to do both a federal and a state audit. There aren't a lot of audit firms that want to do that extra work. Rice Sullivan is one of them. Number two, not many want to audit school districts. Rice Sullivan, the last survey I saw was the school business officials email chain. I would say Rice Sullivan had 80–90% of the districts. I am aware of several districts, including some our size, who in the last 2 years, mid-audit year, have had audit firms ghost them. So they've had no audit, they're trying to get something sorted out, and they are going shopping for auditors and going everywhere from Indiana to 5 hours north toward Chicago to get anybody qualified who would do those audits. We have a good working relationship with Rice Sullivan. Audits come, by the way, at the perfect time of the year, usually the first full week of school every year. So while we are changing to the new financial salary year with staff and opening school, we're also dealing with auditors coming in. They come in and research, and they email and ask questions as we go along. I would recommend with this proposal from Rice Sullivan for fiscal years 25, 26, and 27 that we stick with them for now. And again, we have hit our audits every year, and not every government body can say that. So we know we're supposed to do that.
Any further questions of Mr. Duncan concerning that recommendation? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the proposal for auditing services from Rice Sullivan LLC for the fiscal years 25, 26, and 27. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Borowski,
I'll second.
and a second. Mr. Steinberger. Any other discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Aaron,
Yes.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Mr. Grasswood,
Yes.
Mr. Crosby?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
And Mr. Tony?
Yes. Item number 3, consideration of approval of future field trips. Mr. Duncan.
Mentioned that, consideration of future field trips, board policy requires any overnight trips or those over 200 miles to be placed before the board for approval. There's 2 things we want to mention. Mrs. Sullivan and Mrs. Goodson, and whoever wishes to go first.
This is probably in the packet that I used to pass it down. I wanted to ask your permission for us to work with a group called World Classrooms to take a trip to Washington DC. This is for when these come down, the itinerary says it's for July 10th through the 13th, 2026. So next summer, it says the students in 6th and 7th grade, so that would be this year's 6th graders, this year's 7th graders. They would move up into junior high, both of them. That would be the group that would be eligible to go on this trip. The World Classrooms company takes care of all the arrangements. They pick us up in a charter bus, take us to the airport, they take care of all the flights, all the ticketing. We go, they take care of all the hotel rooms, all the food. Basically, we're just on tour with them to visit several places in Washington, D.C. If you look at the second page, you've got the itinerary for the 4 days that they're there, and they are packed with educational stuff. The U.S. Capitol, the Library of Congress, Supreme Court, Arlington, a Holocaust Museum. I mean, there's a ton of things crammed into 4 days that would be I think a monumental learning experience for students. This is all self-funded. That is not to say that we are not going to do some fundraising to help defray the costs for parents to help their kids to go, but the majority of it would be funded by parents who chose to pay for their child's trip. It is a little bit expensive, so we're going to try to help out by doing some fundraising, but it's not unlike anything that they have done at the high school for their Europe trips in the past. Kind of a similar situation.
It's the same company too, isn't it?
I think theirs is Explorer.
Oh, yeah, it's
maybe.
You're right.
See Thompsonville went at some point.
Yeah.
What's the cost? Roughly.
It's on the first page. It's $2,600 for a student to go. So a little bit pricey, but that includes all of their meals also. It's meals, all transportation, all admittance fees. They don't have to pay for anything there unless they want some kind of souvenir.
If it's similar to what we did in Europe, it's really cool because you literally go there and they handle everything for you. Everyone has the same meal, you have to try different things, and the tour, we had a tour guide, it was pretty amazing.
4 days, 3 nights.
We have several teachers who have already committed to going, and I would go on the trip as well. So
Supervision has never been a problem for, I know, high school trips, and you made 1, 2?
I made one so far.
Supervision won't be a problem with your kids. Or I should say the parents with your kids. Any other questions?
Is this the only option that they have, or do they have a shorter trip that might be more affordable for some more students?
it's the only option that they have. And actually, it's the only location for junior high kids. Because I asked about, like, are there any other cheaper kind of things where maybe we could start small, work our way up to this. But this is the only thing that they do for junior high. At one time at the junior high, I think Mrs. Coleman arranged a Washington D.C. trip that they planned and organized all together within the school, and so but it was a 1 day.
Yeah, that was flew out of Marion.
Yeah.
That was almost like the honor flight thing where it was go and drive and come back.
Yeah. They have it. There's a page included in there about liability. There's no school liability. Their insurance covers all of this. It's voluntary. It's not a school-sponsored activity. It's just an opportunity that we're providing, and anybody who wants to go can go.
Now, is there a chance, like when you do the tours, are you gonna be combined with other schools with some of this stuff, or is it just?
Potentially, depending on how many of our students sign up to go. So if they have rented a charter bus, obviously they're gonna come pick up multiple and then we all go together. But if we have enough for a whole trip, which I don't think we will, but if we have enough for a whole day, it would just be us. With that particular, like we get a tour guide and 2 chaperones that come with that by their company. Those people come and help monitor the kids, give us information, lead us to where we're supposed to go. So it's pretty well supervised through the whole time.
And that's included in this cost here? Okay.
I would recommend going any shorter time period anyways, because Washington DC is so huge to see, so I mean, I think it's a good.
There's no downtime in there too, which I love. I mean, like, the devil plays havoc with downtime in junior high kids. So it's like they're going to be busy and they're going to be exhausted at the end of the day. So there's a lot of walking in there and a lot to see. So
And traffic and long lines. Any other questions of Mrs. Sullivan?
if it gets approved tonight, they're going to send out an informational flyer this Friday to all the 6th grade and all the 7th graders, and then have an informational meeting on May 12th here at the school with their company to come in and talk to the parents about what's expected, how the financing works, all that kind of stuff. So they have a year to make payments on the trip if they want to do it.
Need a motion or?
Not yet.
We have 2 items in this.
Oh,
Okay, again?
Thank you.
Mrs. Goodson.
Okay, I apologize, I have blue, red fingers, I tried to teach Graham States, I should have showed them how to teach and open the box. So, now, mine is not educational at all. We're going to.
You're not even gonna lie to us?
Yeah, well, roller coasters, I could spin it, the physics of roller coasters, but physics doesn't work. So, yeah, that's a lost cause. This is Kings Island now. I have 20 kids, they're quirky, they're weird. That's why they're in my club, because they don't fit anywhere else. So, I told them that if they work hard for concessions, we would go. I haven't spent the night at Kings Island in 25 years, but I happen to like some of these kids, so they worked. And we are going to spend the night at a brewery in Sharonville, because they can eat breakfast for free, they can have the hors d'oeuvre lunch, snacky hour for free, 2-day tickets to Kings Island.
Popcorn.
And I'm going to get them drink wristbands so they can have soft drinks, because sodas are wicked expensive at Kings Island. And 10 of them have never been, so I ride all the roller coasters. That's why there's some stars on those. Those are some of the better ones. The Beast sucks, but it's because it's wooden. The metal ones are better, sorry. When you're short, fat, dumpy, you don't fit those wooden ones very well. You get bruised. So, the other ones are pretty awesome. They have a water park. Yeah, it's okay. Actually, Holiday Worlds is better, but Mr. Serena volunteered to drive one activity bus. I'm going to drive the other one. Mandy Chance is going, and maybe Monica Griggs from the kitchen is going. So we're taking about 18 kids. And so if they worked, sold bread dough, their trip is paid. If they didn't, they have to pay $50 for the ticket and then $50 for the hotel room. So that's all we have.
Thank you, ma'am.
as presented.
If there are no other questions, entertain a motion to approve the school field trips as these two ladies presented. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make it.
Thank you, Mr. Grasko-Wicks. How about a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Steinberg. Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Karowski?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Item B, calendars and scheduling. Consideration of an amendment to the 2024 public school calendar regarding an interrupted school day on April the 2nd, 2025 due to threatening weather conditions. Mr. Belkin.
You're supposed to, you're required to get 5 instructional hours on a school day. We have banked in our calendar 5 hours and 40 minutes. However, on April 2nd, with storms approaching that everybody was concerned about and coming at some point between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m., we, along with a lot of other districts, dismissed early. We dismissed an hour early, which would have us at 4 hours and 40 minutes, which is short of 5, so need to amend this year's calendar to show that interrupted day. You do not have to make that up. It's simply noted in the calendar.
Any questions of Mr. Duncan? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the amended 2024-2025 public school calendar to reflect the designation of April 2nd, 2025 as an interrupted school day due to an early dismissal due to threatening weather conditions that afternoon. Do I hear a motion?
Wait.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. How about a second?
I'll second.
That was Mr. Tharp. Thank you, Mr. Tharp. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Karowski?
Yes.
Item number 2, also concerning the school calendar. For the 2025-2026 school year, Mr. Duncan.
As time was about to get away from us, had conversations with the teachers guardian unit who have consultation input on public school calendar. Mr. Noto and a committee met, proposed this before we got away for spring break. Matches a lot of what is in this year's calendar. Couple of factors to consider. This does start on Monday, August the 11th, with this Teachers Institute Day and a half day the next day. I think from conversations we've had and the back and forth between grade school and high school that the Monday start has got it worked. We are looking then at trying to work in some in-service and training time with one half-day in-service on the 19th of September. We have the one around the 17th of October, which is homecoming week and the day of the parade. Teachers Institute on the 31st. Looking to do 2 parent-teacher conferences that will be 2.5 hours each on Monday, October 20th and Monday, October 27th. That is after the end of the first quarter. Then we get to take off the day before Thanksgiving to make up for those 2 evenings. Do keep in mind this is the every other year that we have one less holiday because federal election days aren't in there. That's something we gotta remember each year as we go through this. Is looking at 2 weeks off at Christmas and New Year's from the 22nd, Monday the 22nd of December through Friday, January 2nd. Coming back with an institute on Monday, January the 5th. Looking to do potential half-day school improvement day on the last day of January, as well as the last day of February. And we've had some long stretches, minus the snow days, long stretches this semester with Easter as late as it was. Full day parent-teacher conference on Monday the 9th, taking off again for President's Day on Monday the 16th. We waive Lincoln's birthday as a holiday. We waive Casper Pulaski's day as a holiday. Looking at another school improvement day on the 13th of March, and then Easter next year is on Sunday, April 5th, so that would put spring break Friday the 3rd through the following week. We write in 5 potential emergency days, looking to be done, if we had to use all 5 emergency days, on Thursday the 28th.
Are you still looking at like early dismissal for the month of August then?
That's still by contract. That would be, yes, through those 3 weeks in August. We had looked, a couple of years ago, we put a half-day in-service in towards the end of August because, especially when we had the new grading system and needed to put all that together. But boy, that cuts us short on our early time we don't have on that schedule, so we discussed moving that to September. But this is, like I said, based on the proposal with a couple of the adjustments. I recommend approval.
Okay, any questions? If there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the proposed public school calendar, the 2025-2026 school year as submitted, and direct the superintendent to submit it to the regional superintendent of schools. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make it.
Thank you, Mr. Steinberger. How about a second?
Second.
I heard 2.
Campbell. I heard Campbell from here.
No, John.
That was Mr. Braskowitz. Let's call that
Bad
Mr.
news.
Braskowitz. Huh? No further discussion on this matter? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Crosswitz?
Yes.
Mr. Karofsky?
Yes.
I say yes.
I'm not going to sound until we're closed.
Part C, curricular and extracurricular information, review and discussion of weighted grading system proposals at FCHS.
This is a discussion not only, but as we had a proposal about potentially adding weighted classes, asked Mr. Hill to kind of tell you where the high school is with what they offer right now and the proposal. Do keep in mind, there was a lot of discussion when they put this system in to begin the 89-90 school year. Mr. Spence's senior year was the first year of weighted classes. The number of those has gone up and down through the years. Back in 2017, the board asked for some adjustments. I think at that point we were weighting almost anything we took through Johnny Logan dual credit, and that seemed to be feeding the spirit of what we were trying to do, so we reduced the number at that point in time.
Mr. Had a young lady come to me and go forth, one of our students, and had some recommendations or some ideas regarding band. As you know, band has been a little bit of a point of contention in high school this year. A lot of rumors going about being cut and things that were not true. We've gone through a band director quitting this year, getting a new band director at Christmas, having to fill in with a sub before that. So the band has been through a little bit of a turmoil this year. Mr. Followell has done an amazing job of coming in and providing stability to that program. The kids have really responded to him. They're doing great. The band's in great shape right now. As you know, we're going to share Mr. Followell with the junior high next year, which means we're going to reduce the number of sections that we offer for band at the high school. We'll have him all afternoon. We'll have guitar, band, and chorus at the high school next year. And we're looking at ways to increase the numbers in those sections and still provide all the kids the same opportunity that we have this year with a full slate of band at the high school. After talking to Emma and following up several times with Mr. Followell, I think she has a very good point, and I'm very proud of her for thinking of this. You have this sheet that shows all of our classes that we have in high school. Anything with an asterisk next to it is a weighted class. Anything with 2 asterisks next to it is a dual credit class. As you can see, in music education, we don't have any weighted courses or dual credit courses. We do offer a lot of weighted courses and dual credit courses, something we're very proud of at the high school. It's great for our kids. We don't offer any of those in music education right now, our music department. And basically after talking to Mr. Followell, what we would like to do is offer Band 3 and Band 4 as weighted courses. If you come in as a freshman and take band your freshman year and band your sophomore year, then you could, if you chose to, sign up for weighted band 3 your junior year and weighted band 4 your senior year. We're going to give students the opportunity to either take band 3 and band 4 or weighted band 3 and band 4. If they take the weighted course, then there's going to be a lot of more responsibility and work on their part working with Mr. Followell. And those assignments and those ideas that they have are listed at the bottom. As far as their musicality, what they have to do, what they have to perform, and what they have to understand, contests they have to go to, performances they have to be involved in, and things like that. So we think it's a rigorous course for Band 3 and a rigorous course for Band 4. We do have a number of students at the high school, and this is their thing. They're there because of band. We have kids that show up because of sports, we have kids that show up because of other activities, but we have a large number of kids that band is their thing. It's the thing that gets them to go on. It's the thing that brings them to school, that thing that keeps them involved, keeps them coming to school for 4 years. And we have some kids that are outstanding. We had 9 kids qualify for the ILA honors band this year. Out of a band that has 35, 40 kids in a school our size, being 9 kids qualify for that is amazing. So we have some kids who are very, very good at the band, are very good musicians, and like I said, this is their thing. They want to be involved. We're really excited about the possibility of having this.
Does Mr. Farwell have qualifications for or the credentials for
Oh,
the
absolutely.
classes?
Yeah.
And he knows what he's getting into?
He knows what he's getting into. Yeah, he's excited about it.
Okay.
Anything that can grow our band program and keeps kids interested in band and follow.
Absolutely. I'm all for it, but I just want to make sure that he knows the load that he's going to be taking on.
Yeah, he does. And he's going to have, next year's going to be a challenge on him, splitting between 2 buildings and running 2 bands and things like that. He knows what he's getting into, but he's more than willing to take it on and what
You've got decent numbers considering it.
Excuse me?
You've got decent numbers to consider it.
Yeah, and that's one thing we want to do is make sure that we continue to grow the band. We'd like to see up to 60 kids and give them opportunities. That's one thing we talked about before even this idea is next year we're going to focus on, because of them splitting between, we're going to focus on primarily marching band. We will still have performance band and look for other opportunities for them to be involved in more parades, more marching opportunities. Also, we want to take them down to SIU, go to the Fox Theater, get them to see more professional level musicians perform and get those experiences. So kids, if you're on a football team, you get to travel around. Baseball, you get to travel around, go to all these schools and have these experiences. We want to have the same thing for the kids in the band.
What's the opportunity to eventually have this be a dual credit, maybe with John A, if they're doing like music theory, like what they're doing for this weighted course?
I don't know the answer to that right now. That is something that if John A offers that, we can work with them on that. They have some particular requirements that they require for their teachers, and I'll have to check and see, but right now I don't believe that they offer those dual credit courses in music.
At one time, they did. That was sort of how the district was trying to work through lack of a high school program. But there's not a lot of music teachers out there either, and I think that was part of the reason why, as we were adjusting, I think we were told after May that, by the way, we won't have anybody this year. So that was one of our emergency hires.
And like I said, I'm really proud of Emma. When she came and talked to me, she said we offer weighted courses for Spanish and French 3 and 4. And music, we're learning a brand new language. We're learning how to read and write music. Then we also have to take that knowledge and apply it to an instrument and perform high-level music. And I give her a lot of credit because it's something I hadn't thought of. Mr. Followell hadn't thought of it. We had a kid think of it. And I think that our kids that take on these responsibilities and perform music at the level that they will need to perform at in order to get the weighted course, I think they deserve the opportunity.
We have a lot of kids in 23 that went to band at SIU and playing the band there.
Yeah, we have a number of students, we have 2 students right now that are seniors that are going into music education as soon as they leave us. They want to be band teachers, music teachers, so.
Kudos to them and kudos to this young lady for having the courage to come, to think through this process.
Yeah, she did.
And going to the principal about something good. If a student is in band 3 or band 4, does that automatically mean that they are in a weighted?
No, again, they'll have a choice. They can either take band 3 and band 4 just like they would right now, or they can choose to take weighted band 3 or weighted band 4.
So the curriculum, he would have 2 sets of curriculum?
Right, the curriculum. All these things listed at the bottom and on page 2 will be the extra things that students will have to do during the weighted section.
Is this an action item?
I don't think so. This is discussion.
For discussion, looking through policy, I mean, it's sort of where it's directed superintendent to work with these things, but I want to share with this group. I don't know that the group wants to get into the habit of getting that close down to the curriculum as we depend on our professionals to come up with the ideas, but wanted to give you a chance to weigh in and kind of highlight these things as we go through our meetings. So it's not all about money, it's also about curriculum education process that we spend our time on and expanding opportunities for students.
Anybody have any questions?
Great idea.
I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
That is under item C. Moving right along to item D, facilities. Number 1, update regarding renovation planning and maintenance work projects at district facilities. Mr. Don.
Mr. Spence had mentioned as we're trying to wrap up at Denning, 2 other things. If you don't mind, I'll tie it a little into number 2 as well on the high school, because it's kind of an either or. Number 1, high school received through the Moreland Mission grant funding to be able to do a lean-to structure for storage so that we can clear more room in the vocational shop and expand welding stations for successful building program. John A. Logan is going to do their construction class is going to do the building of this thing. Singer's architects did the plans. As they were looking, they could have tried to squeeze it in this semester, but thought the better thing to be for the John A. group was to start it in September. Give us a little time. Again, that's paid for through using those grant funds and trying to keep it exclusively that. Then from parking lot fees, the lot that we gained that was given to us on the corner of St. Louis and Locust Street is the first of the 2 properties that we have. We're looking to make that into parking space. We know the grass needs to be knocked down right now, but we also need to get that thing leveled off a little. It's got a little bit of embankment on it. To get that to a point, looking at prices, again, we'd be using, as people wonder, what do the parking permit fees help pay for, things such as that, and trying to get more parking on that side of Main Street. And also kids going back and forth to the vocational building so they can have enough room to leave their vehicles instead of driving between classes. Constant battle through the years.
Any questions on either one of these items that are just for FYI, correct? Okay. No questions there? Okay. Under section E, miscellaneous. Does any of the board members have any other questions about any item on this agenda, past, present, or future, that you would like to address Mr. Gall? If not, I would entertain a motion to convene in closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, the sale or purchase of securities, investments, or investment contracts, the purchase or lease of real property, for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, security procedures, school building safety and security, the use of personnel and equipment to respond to a potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property, and other matters relating to the individual students, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, as stated in Article 120/2, Section C, subsection 1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11.
And let me state real quick, for closed session, this district has usually tried to put the things that we would potentially cover in there on the agenda ahead of time, but that is one area where you can add or subtract things for what comes up in a meeting as you go. And as we know, we had a couple of things pop up here since the release of that agenda.
So we are legal talking about that item that has now been moved.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, can I have a motion to go to closed session?
I'll make it.
I heard Mrs. Steinberg. How about a second?
I'll second.
That was Mr. Tharp, I believe. Any other discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Grassley?
Yes.
Mr. Karowski?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
8-12.
Motion carries.
I heard
Quiet. All right, so big long session today. That's because we have our quarterly reports. First thing we went over, we had the first two meetings that dealt with basically how the board operates, how they establish their members, bring them in, and establish their officers. Then we moved into our public comment section. The only things I had was I was asking about our bond sale. As I said, on 326, our highest number was 2.9 mil, and it went up to 3.1, and that was basically because to facilitate the bond sale service fees and to give us a little bit more wiggle room. We aren't necessarily going to use that much, but that's basically the upper limit that we voted, or that we're going to vote on. I also asked if any of the taxes levied to pay for the 2021 bonds came from other than the county school facility sales tax, and that's because you have to abate property taxes if you move money out of the county sales tax fund into paying off these bonds. So that basically means that you're not getting taxed twice. And yeah, that was confirmed. Asked about deficit reduction plan, to whether that had been amended to include the new debt repayment and working cash bonds that has been proposed. And to me it sounded like this was already planned back in September. So when they did the deficit reduction plan, they already had these figures in mind. In terms of a living document and amending it more often than quarterly, didn't really get a clear answer on that. And a lot of that sounds like it has to do with when money is spent versus when we get reimbursed for it. As far as our performance on the deficit reduction plan, that also goes back to they said that they can't really give an accurate snapshot of how we're performing against that because money comes out at a certain time. We ask for reimbursement, and sometimes that's delayed. So any snapshot that they give wouldn't quite be accurate other than what they tell us on the quarterlies and the annual financial reports. And then last thing I mentioned was that a student on the board would be a super cool thing to do. They'd only be in an advisory capacity, so all they could do is bring up suggestions. They couldn't actually vote on anything, and they wouldn't go back there and closed, but it'd be cool to do. Then we moved into our administration reports. This is all super shorthand, so I'm sure I missed a lot of stuff. So bear with me. But Mr. Duncan got up first, mentioned the entrepreneurship program trade expo that he went to, that it was a big success. He also mentioned that there was a case before the Supreme Court that may decide whether certain students who have IEPs coming in from different districts or different states or something like that, basically what the timeline is for us to continue those individual education plans. So say I'm coming from Indiana with an IEP that says I need 30 minutes of quiet time or something like that. The case before the Supreme Court right now is basically deciding when the school that I'm moving to has to implement that and how much of that they have to implement. Obviously we don't want, we have to abide by whatever the outcome of that case is, but as it stands right now, it would put a lot of hardship on us if we had somebody come in with an IEP that was super costly that we just simply couldn't do. But that's conjecture, just more to come on that. He mentioned also that the city is looking to create a TIF, which is like a special, as far as I understand it, a special portion of the city that's has a higher tax rate than other parts of the city, and that's going to be somewhere in the northwest part of the city. Something I would like to know about that is how that would affect our tier funding, because that's going to change how much is coming from our local sources. And I mean, the tier funding is a whole formula that we'll have to get into. You also mentioned the FOIAs. Of specific note, there were, what he mentioned, 10 of them seemed to be coming from AI. While I can't say for sure whether they came from AI or not. He did mention that they had a lot of the same exact wording, but were coming from different character stringed email addresses, and that they weren't responsive to any replies back to those emails. But those 10 FOIAs were for expenditure reports of over $500 across about 20 years worth of data. That is a report in the school code that they are required to give, but it's obviously asking for all expenses over $500 is a huge undertaking. So school code actually says that they can charge you for that, charge whoever is requesting that report. And the fact that they're not responding to it kind of, I think, gives them a lot of leeway to not be forced to put those out there. Next we had our administration reports from the schools. So over at Denning, there was talk of attendance initiatives. So keep your kids in school, and if you get perfect attendance for the fourth quarter, they're looking at giving away 2 bikes. So that's super cool. They're looking at a lot of stuff for next year to try and get people to attend as often as possible. They also mentioned that discipline incidents were down in 1st and 2nd grade, and the movement of certain Title I funds over to classroom resources. So that's going to be like curriculum type stuff, and iReady. So we're spending, the money we're spending on those things is coming from a pot of money we didn't think we could use it for. So essentially it's like we're not having to take that money from elsewhere, because now it's coming from a grant. Kindergarten registration is normal. I think she mentioned about 85 students had currently registered for kindergarten, which is tracking for this time next year, or last year I should say. And then she mentioned the upcoming events. Over at FIS, we collected $2,500 and some change from the Million Pennies March campaign. So that was a huge success. She also mentioned the autism awareness events that we did and how much fun the students had with that. And then finally that there was construction of an outside classroom as well as awnings over certain portions of the building. Moving on to the junior high, we're down to, because of the RIFs, reduction in force, we're down to 7 periods, but we're making up that 8th period to have an 8-hour day with what sounded to me like essentially a study hall with a bunch of different parameters or requirements that the students have to do in that study hall. Discipline incidents are up over at the junior high, and then upcoming events were also mentioned there. Over at the high school, the schedule for next year is done, and then there are senior exams on the 14th and 15th, and I think exams for freshmen and sophomores started the 23rd, but I could be wrong on that. Over at the Office of Student Services, it was just a very, very busy month for them. They had 82 meetings in 22 days. They met with some vendors for essentially contracting the IEP writing, so that they get the students' needs down in a form that that's just best for all parties in order to be able to facilitate that, to clear up the language and to make sure that everybody's doing what they need to there, as well as talk to the crisis counselor. The OSS also met with early childhood to align more with Denning and beyond in terms of getting certain students documenting their behaviors and trying to basically get a jump start on anybody who would need an IEP or support beyond that. And then there were a lot of speech and assessments done over the month of April. Moving on to the maintenance director, the Denning project is ongoing. Some punch list items were taken care of, such as various door issues. Our claim with Ameren for the lights that blew up from that really bad thunderstorm that we had, which caused a power surge, and it was denied, but it sounds like that they're trying to appeal that by getting some more data together. The lift at the vocational building, the parts that we needed for that lift, the warranty was extended on them, and then the labor was comped. And then the elevator at Max Morris is good to go. We're just waiting on the certification for that. There were plywood projects done at the high school along one of the stairwells due to moisture intrusion. In terms of preventing it in the future, we're looking at some masonry tuck point projects. We've actually already got the bids. I think that was last special meeting on the 14th, whenever they announced the award of those bids. And then finally, Denning's old HVAC panels got repainted. At this point, Mr. Duncan came back with some paperwork from another issue that we need to talk about. And he gave a rundown of basically truancy issues, how they're being handled across the state, and kind of the history on it there. There's a lot of talk at the state level of our politicians trying to address that type of stuff. But he said from his experience and as state law currently stands, there's not really much that we can do to enforce these type of laws. We can't just throw parents in jail and then overburden our foster care system. So what we do right now is we just kind of notify the parents, the families as much as possible whenever truancy starts to become an issue. So hopefully we can head it off, and then we hand it up to the ROE to take it if things escalate. Next, we talked over the bond sale. Mr. Duncan went over why we need a working cash fund and what it's for, and what I will say is any successful school in the area has a robust working cash fund for good reason. It's a specific fund that you can transfer over to other stuff, such as your education fund, your operations and maintenance, your capital projects, your capital outlay funds, all these other different accounts. Think of it kind of like the cash in your wallet sort of thing. He also mentioned that when we did our deficit reduction plan, one of the reasons why we had to do a reduction in force first and basically get rid of people first was because there are notification requirements. So if we wanted to actually have those savings, to pull the trigger on cutting costs there, we had to do it first and early on because they are required to have so much notification before those changes are legal. Okay, I already talked about that the number changed, the top level number changed to help cover the bond furnishing fees, the service fees and such. And then he also mentioned a little bit about the individual impact to the taxpayer at the, who had, say, a $100,000 home. This was also covered on the March 26th meeting with Mr. Wills when he went over it, and it was about $31 a year increase in property taxes. What I will say is that this bond sale, I'll have to double check on it. I know at the March 26th meeting, we would be maxing out what the board can do in a PTEL county for our property taxes. So we'd be right at that 5%. Anything beyond that would have to go as a referendum to vote on for the entire population. I don't think we have much more room to go higher than that. But again, it sounds like they've been planning for this since September when they did the deficit reduction plan. And that's supposed to cover estimates of a budget for the next 3 years to bring your deficit down. Next item, they talked about Rice Sullivan. Rice Sullivan's the people who have done our annual financial reports, or essentially our financial audits, for years now. And he discussed why we choose Rice Sullivan. And he says because not a lot of auditing firms want to deal with school boards because school districts don't have to follow what's called U.S. General Accounting Principles. They follow a cash accrual basis of accounting. So whenever an auditing firm comes in, they have to say, hey, look, this doesn't follow U.S. GAAP, so while I've tried my best, there could be material misstatements in here. So that's one of the reasons why these firms don't really like working with schools. And then another reason is because we have to file with both the federal and the state. It's additional overhead for these auditing firms to essentially perform too. So moving on, field trips. So we talked about for the junior high a field trip to Washington, D.C., contracted through a company called World Classrooms. It's going to be a self-funded field trip for summer of 26. They're looking at $2,600 per student right now. That's all inclusive, so that's going to be your hotel, your meals, your flights, your trips, your tickets of admission, everything except for discretionary spending on like souvenirs or snacks or extra food or stuff like that. They also mentioned that they're going to try to do some fundraising opportunities to help students who want to attend but maybe can't make it the full $2,600, and that there would be a option to finance this trip for over the course of a year. Since the board voted yes to go ahead with it, I think Ms. Sullivan said that Friday there should be a flyer going out about it. So hopefully you'll hear more. And then upcoming Kings Island trip, that's going to be an absolute blast for the students involved in that. And then FCHS weighted grading. So over at the high school, they're trying to supplement their music education courses because band is really big for a lot of kids. A lot of students are just They come to the district for specifically that program. So whenever we had to make cuts in those departments and share Mr. Falwell with the junior high and basically put more burden on less people, there was a big concern there that our band wasn't going to be as good, or they wouldn't have as much opportunity. And they came up with a really good idea of offering weighted courses, which is basically like a band honors course. So the weighted, they had a pamphlet up there of the different ideas for a curriculum for a weighted course, but it sounds like they're going to have more opportunities to see what it's like to be as part of a band in the real world, going over to the Fox and seeing some of the people work their magic up there, and that they would have different requirements in having to play so many different events and yada yada yada. But all in all, I mean, I think we didn't really talk about what the cost of this weighted course would be, but I mean, that really sounds like, they're trying to listen to what the students want there and accommodate it as best we can with the money that we have. Yeah, because it was mentioned that we've got these weighted courses for all of your core subjects. You've got it for your foreign languages and such, but that there wasn't currently anything in music education. So again, it was just a need that was there. So really hope that ends up happening and is a great success. Last little bit here, the high school got funded for another storage building, and over by the Voc building, we have 2 new lots over there for additional parking, but we've got to mow and level it, and that's going to be what the parking fees contribute towards. Then they went into closed session. Whenever they started talking about the bonds, Mr. Tharp motioned to reconvene that discussion after closed session. So they also added on a couple of the exceptions, reasons essentially why they go into closed session on the agenda. Specifically number 7 and 11 were added there. So, yep, they're in closed session, and I'll be live whenever they come back out. Bye. And